on the horizon.
Sacrificing ourselves. All of that at once and at hyperspeed.
You were having the time of your life fighting me just now!
Welcome back to Saitama Recap. Our story starts with a teenager named Kelvin who wakes up reincarnated in another world. He gained his angel wings accidentally, so to make up for this divine oopsie, our boy is allowed to choose the skills and abilities he will have in his new life. There's a catch though. Anyway, Kelvin wakes up lost in the sauce. He has no idea where the heck he is. A menu, solo leveling style, pops up and welcomes him in an overexcited voice to this brand new world. As he pushes the start button, the voice informs him of what's really good in this new reality. Bro has been reincarnated into a fantasy world, and because he was granted the choice of powerful skills and abilities, his memory has been erased as part of the deal. Bro starts to spiral. Why on earth, or whichever dimension this may be, would his past self agree to this deal? That's when a status window opens, showing him his choice of skills. He gains an S-rank summoning skill plus the ability to double his stats when leveling up. His newfound abilities excites homeboy tremendously. Let's get this adventure going, he thinks. The menu advises him to head on over to the nearest town and register himself as an adventurer at the guild. As they head in that direction, Kelvin asks the menu if it will be his new bro bestie. His lack of memory has left Browski pretty shell-shocked, so to improve the mood, the menu reveals that she is actually Melfina, the goddess of reincarnation. Apparently Kelvin had the hots for her, and this made him ask her to be his slave. Okay, which century was little bro born in that being attracted to someone means enslaving them? Anyway, she crazily enough accepted his offer cause her job was stressing her out, and she decided being a slave was a better option. This information shocks Kelvin, wondering how his previous self came up with the idea. We are just as confused, little homie. The voice is beyond simping for him, and it's kinda awkward. Bro tries to summon her just to see what she looks like, but she tells him he's too weak right now and will also need way more mana before that's even an option. Kelvin registers as a basic B, sorry mage at the Adventurers Guild, but doesn't mention his summoner skill. According to his slave goddess, apparently summoners are such a rarity that kings will literally go to war for them. So he starts as the lowest F rank. According to the clerk, the only missions you may take are max 1 rank above your own, and the only way to level up is by completing 10 missions in a row. So off Kelvin goes on his first mission, slaying some slimes. He comes across a wooden pole which boosts his magic and starts to hunt. Soon enough he comes upon 3 slimes. Melfina advises him to see what's up with his S-rank skill, Appraising Eye. He does, and it shows him all of the slime stats. Since he is S-rank, he can see anyone's stats up to 100 levels above him. Good to know. Melfina lets him know if he injures a slime, he'll be able to tame it. Kelvin attacks with his pole, not his magical ability, thereby ensuring he won't eliminate it. Surprise, surprise, the slimes are not an easy foe, and it takes all his might to be able to beat it into submission. Now tamed and submissive, unlike most women, he makes a summoning contract and names the slime Clotho. Clotho is a happy slime who jumps around joyfully. Together they attack Clotho's homies. Bro code violation. Kelvin employs his wind magic attack, which easily takes out a slime, while Clotho circles and jumps until he crushes another. Since signing the summoning contract, Clotho's stats got a major boost. It also somehow grew a face. We learn that Kelvin's summoner skill gives all his servants a 100-point boost to all stats. Kelvin's is also the only S-rank summoner in this world. The rest are either B or C rank or lower. With his newfound knowledge, Kelvin heads back to town searching for a place to sleep that night. He passes through an alley while heading there and bumps into some elven slave traders. The trafficking of slaves disturbs him, but he walks away and goes to find his bed and breakfast. The host seems real country and makes him feel right at home. Kelvin gets to hustling and quickly starts learning new skills and leveling up. Luckily, his concealment skill hides his stats and summoner skill from other adventurers, as he has been drawing much attention to himself, specifically by completing missions alone and with speedy promotions. Within a week, he's already risen to E rank. And Clotho too has evolved into a gigantic fatty boy slime. At the guild, a D rank adventurer named Cashel introduces himself to Kelvin. Cashel is a bad boy with an even worse reputation. Word on the streets is that every time he goes on a mission with a novice adventurer, they seem to end up missing. He invites Kelvin to join his crew for a D-rank mission to hunt a dark, ghostly night. Luckily, our boy is no fool, and with his appraisal skill, he quickly discovers that Cashel is a stone-cold killer. Thinking quickly, Kelvin asks for a friendly competition to see who can defeat the knight first. Cashel accepts the challenge and heads off to meet up with his crew of criminals named Gimel, a rank C appraiser, and Raj, a muscle man. Those bad boys plan to eliminate Kelvin as soon as possible. The criminal crew of Cashel rush to the ruined castle. Upon arrival, they are greeted by the excommunicated remains of an army of undead. Kelvin pops up, greeting them politely, then lets it be known that he knows what's really good, and if they want to bring it, now is the time. Nuck if you buck baddies. He calls the ugly buffoon a big bald baby, and it's hilarious. This insult causes Raj to attack without thinking, and he falls right into a trap that had been concealed with magic. Raj is stuck in bottomless quicksand. Then Kelvin uses wind magic, and Gimel runs away like a frightened little scaredy cat. Fool! Clotho is waiting patiently for him, and is an impressive giant now known as Devour. Gimel rushes back, running for his life. Clotho quickly sends him flying with a power punch. He then restrains Raj with his tentacles. Cashel tries to charge Kelvin, acting way too cocky, and is quickly and painfully shown the error of his ways. We discover these baddies have been eliminating other adventurers and leveling up that way instead of hunting monsters. Kelvin ties them up and heads off to find the knight he originally came for. The Black Knight is level 53 and named Gerard, and instead of fighting Kelvin, asks him to sign a contract and join his crew. To Kelvin and our surprise, the Black Knight is a friendly old bugger who shares his life story and even offers some candy. He acts like your next-door neighbor, if your next-door neighbor is an old and lonely grandpa dressed as a knight. Gerard says before he'll agree to the contract, he needs to see if Kelvin will be a worthy master. They agree to duel, and we see that Gerard is a skilled fighter. He easily blocks all of Clotho's attacks. Gerard power slashes Kelvin, who just manages to dodge the attack. Clotho and Kelvin attack simultaneously, with Kelvin using air magic to hold Gerard in place. Stuck and on the verge of defeat, Gerard suddenly remembers his reason for being. We get a flashback and see an elf named Gildora who wrecked the knight's entire kingdom, eliminating every person in it, including Gerard's wife and daughter. Core memory unlocked. The flashback empowers Gerard with a holy vengeance spirit, and he breaks free of Kelvin's magical hold and charges him. Kelvin freezes him again, and Clotho shoots a power beam at Gerard. The next morning, Kelvin is back at the guild and hands over a piece of Gerard's armor as proof of mission completed. This highly impresses other adventurers who praise him. His accomplishment plus handing Cashel over to the authorities ensures that Kelvin receives acknowledgement from the guild master plus a promotion to D rank. Gerard is now one of the crew along with Clotho and Melfina. Their telepathic communication fills his head with insanity and its peak comedy. Just then we see the guildmaster, Leo, waiting on Kelvin. They make some small talk, and then Leo drops a bombshell by asking if Kelvin is from another world. Shocker! Kelvin quickly checks and sees that Leo's appraisal skill is higher than his concealment skill. So Leo knows what's really good and what Kelvin has been hiding. In the guildmaster's office, Leo says that Kelvin is a summoner and he has no choice but to admit it. Kelvin asks Leo, if his appraisal skill is so high, how come he never stopped Cashel's criminal crew? Leo admits that he knew what was up, but since Cashel is of noble blood from the Tricen nation, more proof was needed. Luckily, Kelvin handled that. Getting down to business, Leo wants to be homies with Kelvin, as he is not the first Isekai'd person in their world. Apparently, some brothers known as the heroes of the Holy Empire Doremus came before him. Melfina guiltily acknowledges that she reincarnated them and promises to fill him in later. As Leo continues to let us know just what is going on, we find out that a priestess foretold a prophecy of the return of a demon king. Leon suspects that the reason that monsters are getting hyped is because they too feel the demon king's return. Since the heroes are off fighting these overhyped monsters, and as Kelvin actually has the skills of an S-ranked adventurer, Leo asks if he'll protect the town instead. Leo offers Kelvin many incentives, and they quickly come to an agreement that benefits the both of them. Kelvin will protect the town and Leo will raise his rank and give him assistance on missions plus pay. He will also guarantee Kelvin's freedom. They shake hands and Kelvin heads back to the inn where Claire proudly hugs him for reaching rank B. Okay, sugar mama. While eating in his room, Kelvin starts questioning Melfina about those reincarnated heroes. She finally admits that she summoned up some attractive and intelligent people using a ritual as performed by the priestess of Doremus. Confident with the knowledge that none of that drama concerns him, Kelvin calls up Clotho, who he has been using as storage to retrieve his reward money. Kelvin seems overjoyed and shouts that he's about to buy a woman. Perv! Well, actually, he goes to the slaver alley to find the elven slaves being sold. Kelvin explains that he will train the elven girl to be his backup and boost their crew's overall strength. As he enters the alleyway, a man is screaming with his head on fire. Kelvin sees the half-elf that caught his attention the last time. The slaver sheepishly admits that she's cursed, and anyone who touches her gets set on fire. Cool protection skill to have in our world where women would rather choose a bear. Kelvin activates his appraisal skill and sees that she is indeed cursed by a fire dragon king. Melfina advises him that the only way to break it is with an A-ranked white magic spell known as Sacred Blessing. Kelvin leaves but returns later and offers to buy her. Confused, the slave trader wonders just what kind of kink Kelvin is into. But once he gets a bag of gold, all questions go out the window. Fire Elf and Kelvin head back to the B&B. She introduces herself as Ethel and thanks him for buying her fiery butt. She gets all emo and Kelvin tries to comfort her, but she backs off afraid to light him up like a firecracker. Stupidly, Bro immediately uses the Sacred Blessing to break the curse. She had the perfect defensive weapon, so his logic defies me, but I guess he just couldn't wait to touch on his new slave girl. Ethel goes full crybaby mode and drops to her knees wailing like a banshee screaming, "Master, my master." Kelvin pats her head while she's down there. Anyway, they bounce and head back to Claire's place. She immediately takes the little slave elf under her guidance and dresses her like a French maid. Weird flex, but okay. Ethel and Kelvin enjoy a yummy meal and discuss what's really good. All brothers' secrets like his summoner ability and also the deets on the rest of the crew are discussed. They also allocate her skill points and he gives her options so she can make her own choices. The night ends weirdly though, as no other beds are available for Ethel, so they are forced to sleep together. Kelvin's mind gets overstimulated lying next to that hot tamale, and sleep does not come easy. Time flies and it's already a month later. Kelvin and Ethel have been leveling up and she's become a proficient archer. She's wisely learnt to combine the Dragon King's grace, fire magic and archery, creating an original skill. Our crew has completed 9 missions already, and Angie, the guild secretary, is like a proud mama. Soon Kelvin will be rank A and Ethel rank B. To celebrate, Angie invites them to a new dessert shop in town tomorrow. The 3 of them meet up the next day, and Kelvin flirts with both girls sheepishly. Although he and Ethel both blush awkwardly at first sight. They go to the dessert shop, and it seems like the girls have decided to battle for his affection by simultaneously trying to force-feed him. Their antics draw a crowd as everyone believes that Kelvin is dating both girls. Then some jealous, noble-looking fella kicks their table over. Tabra is the 3rd prince of Trison. He and his goons are arrogantly ignorant, and Tubby Tabra thinks he's got game. Prince Tubby sends his macho goons to kidnap the girls, but before they can grab them, Kelvin escalates the situation by slamming those macho fools into a brick wall. He then politely asks the prince, "What's good, homie?" But he won't answer, so Kelvin uses magic to make the Tubby prince vibrate uncontrollably, and he spills the tea. Apparently there's a rumor about an overpowered adventurer that lives in their town, and Prince Tubby wanted to hire him. Unbeknownst to him, that adventurer is our big homie. Kelvin informs him who he is and rejects the prince's offer. In the meantime, we see what Melfina is up to. She visits the priestess of Doremus, an oracle named Colette. We get a glimpse of the other reincarnated heroes, and Melfina gives her a prophecy. She senses evil in the west, and the heroes are to go there and stay far, far away from Parth, where Kelvin is. Seems Melfina doesn't want her reincarnations bumping into each other. Melfina ends their Zoom just as her previous reincarnations show up. Colette lets them know the new prophecy deets. We head back to the Airbnb where Kelvin and Ethel are lying in bed. Ethel thanks him for protecting her earlier, and then out of nowhere her female insecurities pop up and she questions if he thinks she's a hottie. Kelvin is shocked by her emotional behavior, especially when she tells him she's in love. Kelvin does his best to resist her, and for now he friend-zones her. Big homie is no simp. The next morning at breakfast, Melfina shares the stats of her previous reincarnations, known as the Heroes of Doremus. Everyone is unimpressed as they are only at level 50 even with a full year's training under their belts. Kelvin is only 8 levels below them. Then Claire interrupts, letting them know that the guild is looking for them. At the guild, Leo informs Kelvin of a demon discovered in a hidden room in a D-rank dungeon. Using telepathy, Melfina lets us know that angels, demons, and dragons are the overpowered beings of this world. Out of the blue, Leo casually mentions an international incident caused by some thug publicly assaulting the Tubby Prince of Trison while staring straight at Kelvin. Guiltily, Kelvin immediately accepts the mission, and he and his crew head to the demon's location right away. There are several adventurers at the location who have formed a protective barrier. Kelvin and his crew head inside. They enter the hidden room and find an archdemon named Victor chilling on a mountain of bones. There's also a female demon chained up in the middle of the room. Apparently she's the child of the most recently defeated Demon King. Kinky. Victor laughs menacingly and tells our crew they are trapped. Victor plans to chow down on Kelvin, absorbing his abilities so that he can free the chained girl, as the chains binding the demon girl can only be broken by a human. After he has freed her, he will cannibalize the girl, thereby crowning himself the next king. With his evil plan explained, Victor then blocks the exit and charges our crew. Luckily, Gerard blocks it. Facing such a powerful S-rank enemy really excites Kelvin. He starts drooling with anticipation. Victor uses black magic to summon up an army of skeletons to level the playing field, and without hesitation they attack our crew. Luckily, Kelvin and the homies can handle themselves and stand on business, taking them out with little issue. Teamwork is the dream work, and even glutton demon Victor is impressed. So he ups the ante and creates a heavy fog by power punching the ground. But Kelvin has a sixth sense when it comes to his ops and tracks him speedily. Victor attacks from below, but with Kelvin's foresight, Gerard blocks him. Victor uses one of his arms like he's Elastic Girl to attempt a sneak attack on Kelvin, but he dodges just in time. He also blasts Gerard, which sends him flying. With Kelvin distracted by the elastic arm, Victor pops up behind him threateningly. Kelvin quickly summons Clotho, who attaches to Victor and starts absorbing his power. That's when Kelvin uses a binding spell on Victor. But it doesn't work for long. Victor frees himself, but Kelvin powers Gerard's sword with a special spell. That's when Victor attempts a counter-attack by using his elastic arm again. This is when Ethel drops her stealth and shoots a blazing arrow. Victor blocks the arrow with one hand while Gerard hacks off the other one. Exciting stuff. Their brutalization of Victor only motivates him to fight them even harder. Evil Bro is hyped. He casts a magical black and blue fog and starts transforming. Our crew all attack simultaneously before Victor can finish transforming. But too little too late. Victor, looking like a souped-up Pokemon dragon bum, rushes them. Gerard uses all his strength to block and deflect. He bears forward, but Victor Pimp slaps him, and just when he is about to deal a crushing blow, Ethel provides cover with her blazing arrows. Kelvin uses Clotho again, who spits hundreds of cursed armor at Victor. His blacksmith rejected pieces make excellent cover weapons. Now Kelvin, Ethel, and Clotho simultaneously use their most powerful attacks, which combine and overwhelm Victor. He is sent flying straight into the prison of the demon girl. As the pillars crash around them, he uses his last strength to protect her. Kelvin and the crew walk over and ask Victor why he protected her if he was planning on eating her. Victor emotionally admits that he is her caretaker and would never eat Sarah. We get a flashback to thousands of years ago and see that Victor was Sarah's teacher and soul companion. Sarah was a well-kept secret, and Victor was charged to protect her. When heroes came to destroy the demon kingdom, the king had his daughter sealed away, with Victor charged as her lifelong caretaker. He planned on awakening her in a time when men were weaker so she can rule as the one true demon king. Victor is just about to kick the bucket, so his last request is for Kelvin to allow Sarah to join his crew so she can finally have the freedom that's been kept from her for hundreds of years. Kelvin accepts, and with that, Victor is released from this life. Ethel warns Kelvin not to free her, as it's possible she may be the prophesied demon king, but he is a man of his word and he breaks her seal. Princess Sarah awakes, fully aware of her surroundings. She deeply mourns for Victor. He picks her up and they exit the barrier. Kelvin tells the other adventurers a half-baked tale and says that Sarah was just another victim of the archdemon. Lucky for Sarah, she has an enchanted hairband that conceals her horns and wings. Our crew regroups and Gerard has evolved into an S-rank knight commander with a major stat increase. Sarah is emo and is concerned that her disguise may be discovered. But Kelvin reminds her that he has S-rank concealment, so no one will ever be able to see her status or know that she is a demon princess. And off they go back to town. Sarah is like a little puppy, overly excited and fascinated by everything she sees and hears. This is her first time experiencing life, so it's cute to see. Kelvin asks Ethel to bring Sarah back to the Airbnb, and he heads to the guild, where Leo promotes him to rank A for his defeat of the archdemon. Upon his return to the BNB, a surprise awaits him. It's a fiesta celebrating his leveling up. It's a heck of a party with food and drinks galore. The celebrations leave everyone passed out on the floor. Everyone except Sarah, who sits outside staring at the moon like Bruno Mars and reminiscing about Victor and the life they shared together. Emo stuff brother. She promises herself to live the life Victor always wanted for her. Simple, beautiful things like seeing the ocean and learning to swim. We head a little bit into the future. Kelvin and Ethel are now S-rank crafters and they create new supersuits for the crew. Sarah looks great in her new gear and her steel gloves are made from Victor's exoskeleton. Gnarly. Gerard gets an overpowered demon sword named Dainsleif. An exhausted Kelvin needs a break after all that blacksmithing, so Ethel offers to play Gordon Ramsay. She asks what he's in the mood for and Kelvin craves rice. He craves it so badly he starts screaming. It's the one thing this world doesn't have that he misses the most. A bit later, our crew is in a carriage heading towards the coast, to a coastal town called Torridge. Apparently they grow a grain similar to rice. This way Sarah sees some of the world and Kelvin feeds his craving. Gerard lets Kelvin know that Melfina is still missing. After their drunken party, she had left to possess one of her avatars so that Kelvin could summon her, as he is unable to do so in her god form. Gerard thinks she wants a female body to compete with Sarah and Ethel. Jealousy activate. As they head closer to their destination, bandits try to hijack them. A sexy blue-haired woman leads them. They are called the Black Wind. Kelvin quickly checks their stats and sees the highest among them is just level 30. He asks Sarah to jump them, but not to use her metal gloves to avoid a mess. The first bandit steps forward and is easily sent flying. The rest attack and are easily defeated. The last one has an enormous hammer, but Sarah catches it one-handed and with a little push sends Big Bro crashing. Soon they are all tied up. That's when Miss Blue Hair warns them not to get too cocky, as her chief is level 70. This greatly piques our crew's interest. They get to Torridge and Sarah is overjoyed at finally seeing the ocean and can't wait to start doggy paddling. First, they must get to the guild and give them the bandits. That's where they meet Mist, Torridge's guildmaster. Leo has given her all the deets about Kelvin's crew. 20 years ago, Mist and Leo ran in the same crew. Kelvin tells Mist the information that they learnt while interrogating the blue-haired bandit. Kristoff, the champion of Trison, who initially had been sent to stop the gang, has secretly taken over and started running it. And Big Homie has gleefully joined the human trafficking business. To complicate matters, he is in town, but they need more proof to bust him. Unsurprisingly, Kelvin has no interest in battling Kristoff, as he is only level 70 and wouldn't be an exciting challenge. Then Kelvin's detection skills pick up the presence of the reincarnated heroes, and he nominates them to pick up the slack. Mist agrees and invites the hero party to disband the bandits. Taking their hero pledge too seriously, the hero party agrees and accepts. But Kelvin has his own hidden agenda. He sure loves a fight. We head over to the bandits' location and see a room full of women and children chained to the walls. Some nasty-looking, lip-gloss-wearing bandit enters the room and starts getting off on mishandling the hostages. This is when Kelvin and his crew pop up. Gerard knocks Mr. Lipgloss out, and then we see what's really good. Kristoff and his deputy are discussing the fact that they are really on a top-secret slave hunting mission for Trison. Okay, international governmental conspiracy. They get into a shouting match, and then Kelvin and the rest bust down the door. Kristoff thinks he's going to get a fighting challenge, but Kelvin's has zero interest in fighting his weak butt and is using him as bait to attract the real challenge. The heroes, Tuya, Setsuna, Mizuoka, and Miyabi arrive at the bandits' location, and it's strangely empty. Eventually, they find Clotho, who's been standing guard by the women. The heroes try to fight him, but one of the captive children blocks their path, saying he is their protector. That's when the silly heroes introduce themselves as the heroes of Doremus. The slaves are glad they've come and ask them to please help the adventurers who've come to save them. The captives are worried that their saviors will be overpowered and beg the heroes to run and help them. The heroes rush to the rescue only to find the bodies of Kristoff and his crew. They assume that they are the innocent adventurers who freed the captives. Trickster Kelvin and his crew pretend to be the baddies when the heroes stupidly confront them. Sneakily, Kelvin bullies and teases them, then challenges them to a game. He wants to single-handedly fight the four of them, with the loser granting the winner a single wish. Tuya thinks it's dishonorable to fight outnumbered, but Setsuna agrees, as she senses that Kelvin is an overpowered freak. Challenge accepted. We learn Kelvin's plan. He is a true battle junkie and wants to battle them and win. Then he'll use his wish to have the heroes testify against Kristoff, thereby voiding his diplomatic immunity. Ethel and Sarah worry for him, but Kelvin is excited to gain new experiences fighting against a group and also to test his new skill eating gloves. The heroes prepare themselves by calling up fairies to give them a boost. Tuya arrogantly charges ahead, but Kelvin blasts him and the rest. They quickly block. Kelvin rushes towards Mizwoka, who summons a baby dragon of all things. It tries to Dracary's Kelvin, but he accelerates his speed exponentially and speeds off. That's when he pops up behind Miyabi and activates his skill Eater Glove. Sarah explains how it works. Apparently, each glove can only steal one skill at a time. When he steals a new skill, he loses the old one. Since Kelvin already borrowed Sarah's skill, both his gloves are now skilled up. He now has Miyabi's skill parallel processing. Tuya, ever the arrogant, tries to bum rush Kelvin. While Setsuna and Mizwoka heal Miyabi, Tuya continues to attack all alone, thinking he can outpace Kelvin. Wrong. During their little one-on-one, Kelvin activates Sarah's S-rank fighting skill and starts whooping, but he quickly overpowers Tuya. Luckily, Setsuna rushes to the rescue, but Kelvin dodges her attack by creating an enormous wall as a barrier. Setsuna's unique ability allows her to slice through just about anything, so she destroys his barrier, easy peasy. Excited by her skill, Kelvin comes flying towards her. He releases a powerful blue beam, but Tuya intercepts and takes the brunt of it. Red foam goes running, but when Mizwoka tries to heal him, Tuya acts tough and says it's just a scratch. Getting all macho, he claims only the Demon King can eliminate him. Okay bro, we get it, you're strong. That's when Setsuna Pimp slaps him back to reality. Bro seriously needed that wake-up call. He acts as if he is the #1 powerhouse. But they are a team and experienced the reincarnation together and so much more once they became the heroes. They need each other. Mizwoka and Miyabi agree. Tuya acknowledges his stupidity and says, "Sorry, girls." Finally, they are ready to fight together. They use a fairy to blind Kelvin with extreme light technique. Then Mizwoka and Miyabi lock him in place by using freezing ice and gravity magic simultaneously. Seeing an opening, Tuya and Setsuna lunge forward, but just then Kelvin detonates a boom spell, leaving confusion, destruction, and smoke billowing all around. Tuya and Setsuna are struck by the blast, and their fairy magic is the only reason they haven't lost their lives. They seem to think that Kelvin blew himself up, but when the smoke clears, they're shocked to see Kelvin applauding their survival. Haha, he is a supreme joker. He isn't harmed in the slightest and instead starts criticizing their weak battle skills and lack of utilization of their full capabilities. Kelvin starts teaching them while insulting them. Motivated, they come full force. Tuya activates his ability, revealing his sword's true form. Mizwoka uses her ultimate spell, frozen temple, binding Kelvin. Little do they know they are simply exciting weirdo Kelvin. Then Miyabi summons her strongest beast, a grave ogre. Sarah teases Kelvin, asking if he can handle what he begged for. Miyabi attacks using a blast of purple energy, but Kelvin quickly summons enormous golems to function as a barricade. Kelvin commands the golems to delay the heroes. Then he activates the stolen skill Parallel Thought, using it to create a spell that will free him from his frozen prison. This skill is really useful since creating new spells can take hours or even days, but now things are happening at hyper speed. Mizuoka starts to warn the others as Setsuna slashes through the golems. But they are true amateurs compared to Kelvin. He releases a wave of energy that destroys the ice and frees him easily. Setsuna tries to slice and dice him, but Kelvin power punches her in the tummy. Miyabi and her ogres are also no match for Kelvin, and she falls to the ground. Mizuoka attempts something while riding her baby dragon, but Kelvin Hyper smashes her out of the sky. She falls like Humpty Dumpty. Tuya rushes to catch her limp body and goes ballistic. He starts attacking without thinking, flailing his arms, and ultimately gets an uppercut that sends him to Sleepy Town. So embarrassing. Tuya finally rises and shines surrounded by his worried team. The captive girl sits on Kelvin's lap cuddling with Clotho. Tuya, being dumb as can be, demands Kelvin release the girl. Kelvin calls Tuya an idiot and tells him to take a better look. That's when he finally realizes that Kelvin is the adventurer that saved everyone. Tuya's small brain can't handle all the information. He wonders why Kelvin would go to such extreme lengths to trick them. That's when he remembers how Kelvin was testing them and teaching them skills to improve their fighting techniques. He graciously admits Kelvin's superiority and begs for forgiveness. He even calls Kelvin sensei. That's when Kelvin reminds them of his wager. Fulfill his wish. He demands they strip naked. They are as shocked as we are, but Kelvin gets them some swimwear and they head to a sea cave for some underwater training. That's where a giant squid awaits them ready to battle. And what a battle it is! The flesh is squishy, making it hard to slice. And of course it has electro power, because why not? Kelvin watches from the sideline, depressed by their lackluster skills. He shouts advice at them, and luckily they listen and quickly defeat the beast. That's when they break for a delicious lunch cooked up by Ethel. Kelvin is quick to admonish them, asking how they expect to defeat the Demon Lord if they can't even beat a squid. Tuya admits that their plan is just to run away. Ha! Excellent battle technique there, boy. To spice things up, Sarah brings an uninvited guest to lunch, the Sea Cave's boss dragon. Kelvin tells them running is an option, but people will suffer. Tuya admits that it may seem cowardly, but they won't just fight to be excommunicated. They'll run, plan, and return to win the day. Kelvin is impressed, so he goes to fight the dungeon boss for a bit of light exercise. Mission completed. The heroes prepare to leave and head to the western continent. Kelvin waves them off and gives them special pendants as a parting gift. As the heroes' ship sails, Kelvin watches them and starts questioning Gerard about the western continent. That's where the elves that destroyed Gerard's kingdom come from. Kelvin wonders if they are ready to take them down. This warms Gerard's hearts that Kelvin remembers his purpose for staying alive. Before they can finish their conversation, Sarah literally jumps on them to give a message that the Queen of Torage has sent word. So our crew head towards a Japanese-looking castle. Gerard tells them it's rumored that the first king of Torage was said to be from another world. Our crew enter, remove their shoes, and kneel. The queen is a beauty and is quite thankful to our crew for defeating the dragon boss and destroying the bandits. She wants to grant them anything their hearts desire. But all Kelvin wants is some rice. Their simple request greatly amuses the queen, who awards them a lifetime supply. She holds a banquet in their favor, and Kelvin finally gets his grubby paws on some delicious, nutritious rice. It's a true celebration filled with food and sake. Upon the queen's request, our crew remains a bit longer at her palace. Ethel brings him a meal fit for a Japanese queen. Her skills are rank S after all, and she's mastered the Japanese style within that short period. The sultry queen invites herself and does her best to try and seduce Kelvin and Ethel into staying by her side morning, noon and night. Ethel to cook and Kelvin for other things. Embarrassed and shaken by the queen's brazen behavior, Kelvin falls to his knees and repeatedly declines. It's time our crew went home. Generously, the queen allows them the use of her teleportation gate. And since they have permission from both sides, it's a quick and easy journey. Back home, Kelvin finally buys a mansion for his crew. He even gets himself a pair of slaves. Well, servants. The freed captives Ellie and Luca are now his household help. Finally, after a relaxing bath, Kelvin settles into his bed. Alone. But sleep doesn't come. Then he senses Melfina's presence and quickly jumps up. She's quick to manifest and show him what she's working with. And Mama is thick, a thick, winged woman. She's acquired her avatar, so now he can summon her as needed. She is also quick to remind him that his heart belongs to her thick thighs. Kelvin finally understands why his past self fell for her so easily. The next day, Melfina shows her avatar to the rest of the crew. The crew is pleasantly surprised, and some of the ladies, a tiny bit jealous, especially after she claims to be his wife. As a reward for successfully summoning her, Melfina awards Kelvin with a blessing, the grace of the goddess of reincarnation. This blessing protects him from fatality, but only once a month, and also gives him the power to summon heroes. Later that day, Sarah and Melfina go at each other in a friendly fight, while Gerard and Luca play spectators. Sarah is able to transform her arm into Victor's demon claw, which Melfina blocks with her divine spear. The claw and spear are equally matched and destroy each other. Seems they were battling for the rights to nighttime shenanigans with Kelvin. Goodness me, but Kelvin is too preoccupied with his newfound power to summon others. Lost deep in thought, Melfina sneaks up and shoves something in his mouth. He gets upset, but she calms him by asking him to share his thoughts. So he questions why heroes are even needed in their world. Apparently, all demon kings have two special skills. First, the evil inside them gets multiplied until it completely takes over them, and secondly, they are basically immortal. God mode activated. Luckily, reincarnated or teleported heroes are exceptions to the rules. Coming from another world, their abilities are different, making the Demon King vulnerable. Kelvin still doubts if he'll be able to summon people and just steal them from their lives. But Melfina explains that he can also reincarnate a soul, so he won't be kidnapping anyone, just giving some lost soul another chance. This improves Kelvin's mood, and he feels more sure about his actions. Melfina does warn him that it's a random occurrence and there's no need to rush. But later that day, Kelvin has already decided. He wants to reincarnate a hero that night. So he casts the special summoning spell and uses all his mana to summon the strongest hero out there. The casting circle glows brightly and lightning strikes. And then we see a young girl. Rio is her name. Kelvin greets her kindly and tries to apologize, but the girl is overjoyed at her second chance. Then Rio faints and Kelvin joins her, having used all his mana to get her there. Rio wakes up later that night and we get a bit of background. She had a fatal disease and passed away in hospital. She goes outside to explore and experience this new world, and Kelvin meets her there. They share reincarnation experiences. Rio is ecstatic to have a healthy body and a new chance at life, so she asks to join Kelvin's crew as a way to repay him. Kelvin is quick to let her know that few people have black hair in this world, which works in their favor, so she can pretend to be his little sister. Rio immediately agrees, happy to have a big brother. Kelvin does need something from her though. That she please change her name, as Rio sounds too much like Leo and Bro does not like the guildmaster. She agrees and changes it to Ryan. Not a big difference, but okay. It's a full moon and Kelvin awakes to find Sarah and Melfina in bed with him, with little Ryan there too. Weird bro, but who am I to judge this haram behavior? The next morning Kelvin brings his harem to the forest to train in a dungeon. He even brings his female servants along so that they can benefit from his experience-sharing skill. This will up their levels so that they improve and power up for their own protection. And they won't even have to fight or lift a finger. If only this happened in our world too. Out of nowhere a shadow wolf attacks, but Kelvin subdues and tames it super quickly, giving it as a pet to Ryan. Ethel senses a party of adventurers coming their way. It's some old friends who are on a mission to eliminate as many monsters in a specific time to reach rank B. Kelvin introduces his old friends to his harem-sari crew. The other adventurers become literal jealous crybabies and run off upset at the lack of females in their lives. Then Sarah and Gerard return and question what the other adventurers are up to so deep in the forest. Kelvin informs them that they are monster hunting for an exam, but Sarah and Gerard start to laugh nervously as they have eliminated each and every monster in the area. Ethel uses her sensibility and agrees there are 0 monsters left. Kelvin heads to town to apologize to his buddies, but they aren't worried. In fact, they are super impressed by Kelvin and encourage him to go for the S-rank exam. They bathe the pet wolf while discussing his upcoming exam, and we learn that she named him Alex. We also learn that Ryan has a unique skill that allows her to communicate with Alex. Time flies as we watch Ryan grow and train and learn new skills while bonding with her pet wolf and her crewmates. Super wholesome. Late one evening, some suspicious men surround the mansion. About 14 of them. Kelvin is quick to check their stats using Ethel's farsight ability that he borrowed. Most are only level 20, so Kelvin decides to send his baby sis to handle the situation as a sort of test of her abilities and training. Ryan is a little anxious but knows she's got this. Kelvin commands Clotho to send a mini version of himself with Ryan and also gives her his newly blacksmithed mithril sword. The baddies work under Kristoff and are agents of the nation of Trison. As Ryan fights, Kelvin and Sarah keep an eye on her and evaluate her fighting technique and use of skills, complimenting her. Ryan kicks butt and defeats them all. She and Alex celebrate their victory. Kelvin sends Sarah to clean up and capture the injured while he confronts the leader of the ninjas. Then we get some insight into the nation of Trison's evil plotting. At a round table secret meeting, the Emperor Zell is conspiring with his generals Asgrad, Tristan and Dan, along with Princess Shatola. As we know, Kristoff was trafficking slaves on General Tristan's order. The Emperor is angry that his capture has put them in a precarious position and worries this may cause an all-out war with his 3 neighboring kingdoms, who are starting to form an alliance against them. Tristan demands they attack first and says they are stronger than the rest combined. Prince Asgrad agrees and also wants to use his secret weapon, his pet, against his enemies. The princess and General Dan disagree and vote against starting a war, saying not to underestimate their opponents. Tied in a deadlock, the Emperor leaves the decision up to his generals and commands that his 5th general, Clive, be summoned to cast the decisive vote. We next see a soldier heading to the Magical Knight's order to summon Clive. The place is freaky and female soldiers stand frozen in place on either side of the passageway. He enters General Clive's chamber and a scent hangs in the air that makes him gag. Several people lie all over his floor. The soldier notifies General Clive of his order, and let's just say Clive is a super freak. Tryson wants war with their neighbors, and Leo informs Kelvin that they are increasing their aggression on all fronts, but especially against the Kingdom of Gone. Strangely enough for Kelvin to be promoted to an S-rank adventurer, he is being sent on a mission by special request of the King of Gone to eliminate an S-rank monster that has been attacking an elven village. As our crew travel to the village, they realize that the Kingdom of Tryson may be involved. Out of nowhere, their carriage is brought to a halt by some elven warriors. Kelvin is quick to explain that he's been summoned by their king. The elder elf Nellas comes forward to welcome them properly and apologizes for their arrow action. Suddenly he goes quiet, stunned, calling Ethel Rumil. He has mistaken her for his daughter but is unsure as she went missing 20 years ago. Kelvin is intrigued and asks Nellas to share the story of what happened to his daughter. Well, the Flame Dragon King had claimed to be insulted and attacked their village as retaliation. Rumil sacrificed herself to save her fellow elves from more destruction. She became the dragon's bride, and he flew away with her. Several years later, they found Rumil's body lying deep in the forest. Their grief and fear of the dragon made them flee their homeland. Sarah suggests what we all are thinking, that Ethel has to be the child of Rumil and the Dragon King. But Melfina bursts our hope bubble by saying that Ethel's father must be human, as Ethel is only half-elf, but not half-dragon. Ethel may not remember her parents or her past, but she's happy with the people she has in her life now. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. The beast attacking them has done so 3 times now, even though the elves put up a powerful barrier. Somehow the beast gets through, and each time it steals more elven people. Kelvin wonders what kind of beast goes around kidnapping people. The strange behavior. He decides to create an enormous stone barrier to enclose the entire village, and employs false fog to hide them. While that's going on, we spot a team of Tryson soldiers marching towards the village with demon beasts who are collared and under human control. The arrogant soldiers laugh and jeer, confident in the beasts under their control as they ride them towards the village. Then a shot rings out and a soldier goes flying. Soon another, and then another joins him in getting shot down. Now the arrogant fools panic, unsure of where these attacks are coming from. It's Ethel. She fires upon them from high up in the stone tower using her ability, ultra-long-range archery. A soldier escapes the onslaught and rushes back to base camp to report to their commander. Their unit has been wiped out and the battalion commander imprisoned. To his greatest shame, he admits that it wasn't soldiers that attacked them but an adventuring crew. Unfortunately for the soldier, Ryan and Melfina follow him back to base. Filled with fear, the soldier runs off and the base commander summons an S-rank monster called Gigant Lord. Basically a manga monster of epic proportions. Melfina encourages Ryan to fight it on her own, so that she'll prove herself to be a true S-rank adventurer. Epic challenge. Ryan accepts the challenge and Bum rushes the giant. She reaches its head, but unfortunately her sword breaks when attempting to chop that giant block skull. The giant sends her flying, but she does not back down. She summons Clotho, and he sends 3 brand new swords her way. Then she and Alex simultaneously attack. They triple wield and take out the giant. Easy as pie, but as the giant falls, the commander demands the giant transform into something even more terrifying. It becomes engulfed in flames, revealing its true form. From a distance, Sarah complains that she always misses the good stuff while choking a demon beast. But Kelvin, Ethel, and Gerard are confident in Ryan's abilities. The blazing giant doesn't bother Ryan one bit, and she attacks again with her triple-wielding attack, defeating the monster yet again. Melfina and Ryan celebrate while the base commander cries like a baby. Ethel and Kelvin watch from up high, impressed by Ryan when out of nowhere a power blast almost takes them out of the game. Luckily, Kelvin's blocking game is excellent. Then we see Freakmaster General Clive flying into view. Kelvin senses his strength and salivates at the thought of battle. While Kelvin's getting excited, Clive spots Ethel and secretly tries to hypnotize her into joining his harem. This immediately pisses Kelvin off, as Ethel is his girl, as he loudly proclaims, "Cringe." Kelvin uses his appraisal ability and discovers that Clive's status and unique skill are connected, meaning he must be reincarnated too. Clive also catches on to Kelvin's ability and realizes the same. That's when Kelvin sends Ethel back inside for her own protection. She activates stealth and disappears, much to Clive's disappointment. But he has no time to worry about that, as Kelvin quickly transforms the tower walls into powerful black daggers. He attacks, but lucky for Clive, he has a strong iridescent barrier. Kelvin keeps attacking, but Clive's barrier holds fast. Sneaky Clive sends his Hypno Knights to attack Kelvin from behind. Kelvin recognizes the hypnotic hold. Clive is so cocky and brags about his hypno harem and the fact that they outnumber Kelvin. That's when Ethel attacks from below, piercing the arrogant oaf's barrier. "Go, Ethel!" Kelvin confidently summons his autonomous golem, who now carry his overpowered daggers. They fight the hypno harem so Kelvin and Clive can face each other one-on-one. Clive summons his mace-like weapon to attack Kelvin, and they fly around the sky, shooting power beams and magical attacks at one another. Kelvin chases after Clive up until Clive activates a pink tentacle attack that Kelvin expertly dodges. But the tentacles keep coming and even ricochet and land on Clive's hypno harem, but he doesn't care at all, saying he has many more to replenish them. Kelvin stops running, angered at Clive's inhumanity. Clive doesn't care about that either. He thoroughly enjoys the power that reincarnating gives him and bullies and abuses those weaker than him joyfully. Dude is straight evil. Kelvin may be a battle junkie, but he's no psycho bully. They declare their hate for each other and attack simultaneously with full power. It looks like a supernova is exploding, leaving Clive's face slashed and Kelvin's staff destroyed. Clive is super narcissistic, so he just about loses his mind at the thought of his face being disfigured. In retaliation, he vows to destroy Kelvin with his overpowered S-rank magic. He powers up and forms a superstorm hurricane. It's kind of pretty and devastatingly powerful. Left with no option but to stand his ground, Kelvin summons his S-ranked staff named Black Disaster. His crew are worried but believe in him. Kelvin powers up and forms a super scythe. He bum rushes Clive and slices through his hurricane, his barrier, and hilariously his legs. Kelvin heads over to help Clive kick the bucket, but he is teleported to safety by General Tristan. Tristan introduces himself and admits to being the mastermind behind all the attacks. Then, proving himself to be the bullying loser coward he really is, he teleports away, promising to return someday. What a disappointment! Kelvin is pissed too, but his crew and the elves are elated with the outcome. Ryan, Melfina, and Sarah race back to Kelvin, excited to be the first he'll praise. Those girls have some deep-seated issues. In order to beat them, Ryan creates a spell that gives her the upper hand, and she wins the race. And Kelvin's praise. Back in Trison, Clive awakens chained to a bed. Luckily, his legs have been reattached, but he appears to be Tristan's prisoner. And let me tell you, Tristan is even more of a freak than Clive is. He sadistically tortures and heals Clive over and over again. According to Tristan, the fact that Clive comes from another world makes him the perfect test subject to brutalize with experimental weapons. Clive's hypno-harem become his floggers. How the tables turn. Anyway, at the village the elves are eating, drinking, and being merry, but Kelvin keeps his distance, feeling a bit emo. Ethel finds him and asks what's good. He shares his feelings of gratitude and joy, and also his need to always protect his loved ones. Then there's some weird error in the plot, as Ethel says that Rumel really was her mom, and that the elf elder had given her some hair accessories that had belonged to her mama. Kelvin clips it in her hair, and they share a romantic moment. But not for long, as the rest of the crew drunkenly join them. Then a tiny elf girl runs up and hugs Kelvin. She thanks him, crying, and then starts laughing crazily. Apparently she is the King of Gone, wearing a special disguise so she can observe them in secret. Kelvin has passed the S-rank exam and been promoted to the highest level. The crew congratulate him and are thrilled. The king announces that there will be a special ceremony, including a mock battle to be fought with other S-rank adventurers. Kelvin gets that maniacal smile on his face again. He is overjoyed, and his hunger for battle shines through again. His crew are used to his insanity by now, as are we. More battles await, and Kelvin and his crew are ready to face them head-on. That's our show, folks. My goodness, I enjoyed the CGI graphics. It kind of reminded me of Street Fighter and really helped reinforce Kelvin's battle junkie lust. Kelvin's a real brother's bro, and his teasing personality and good looks made his harem action understandable. Sarah, Ethel, and Melfina are some hot mamas. But what was up with that hypno-harem bro? Diabolical. I can't deny I enjoyed watching Clive's brutal ending. And Tristan truly is a kingdom full of freaks with personality disorders to the maximum. What's up with the heroes and the pendant Kelvin made them, and will we ever see who the prophesied Demon King is? Hopefully Season 2 comes fast. This is your anime sensei signing off. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.